Next major thing they've done is better exporting of H.264. H.264 is a format that we use in lots of ways at the moment. So you use it for Blu-ray discs, you use it when you're making MP4 files, you use it when you're making AVC HD and XAVC, all that sort of thing. Now EDIUS has got this ability to use Intel QuickSync, so it can do it seriously faster than any other program. EDIUS has been using it for many years, and we've done videos about that, but basically it means it exports things faster than everything else by using hardware that's built into some Intel processors. But QuickSync is nice, and it produces nice looking files, but if you start to squeeze it and make the files a bit smaller, it starts to deteriorate and not look so good. There are other options which are better. A lot of people use a program called Handbrake or TMPEG to do better quality at lower bit rates. Well, Grass Valley have gone ahead and improved the way that they do H.264 in 8.5. You actually export it in exactly the same way. Just go up to File, Export, Print to File, choose H.264, choose your format, and then export it. And that works in exactly the same as it always has. You won't notice any difference at all in any of the settings. You'll notice here I've got this little tick box that says Hardware Encoder because I'm using a system that's got QuickSync. Let me just set up a variable bitrate, put the bitrate down pretty low, so I'm really squeezing it an awful lot. All I'm going to do is click Save and let it go off and make it. Now because I'm using QuickSync, it's going to do it really quickly. This is 10 minutes worth of AVC HD. And you'll notice with QuickSync, it's knocking it up in about, well, it says 1.5 minutes, roughly. Because the QuickSync is hardware, it's pretty much the same on an i5 or an i7. Now, most of the time, people, when they're making systems, decide to buy an i7 processor, because although the QuickSync's the same, everything else is better on an i7. Most of the stuff that EDIUS does, all the processing and effects and everything else, is done by the processor, so the better the processor, the better it will do it. When it comes to QuickSync, the actual encoding is the same because it's a piece of hardware that's built into the chip. And there we are, you'll notice it is going to take about 1.5 minutes to do 10 minutes of video. This is full HD coming out of EDIUS in full HD, and it's taking 1.5 minutes to do it, which is seriously faster than just about anything else. Your system might not do it in 1.5 minutes. I'm again using a KB Lake, so again, later processor QuickSync chips work better than older ones. There we are, 10 minutes knocked up in 1.5 minutes. Now, if I go into there and do exactly the same thing without the QuickSync, untick the hardware encoder, and go, yep, save, it's going to take longer. But you'll notice it says about 3 minutes. Really? That's a lot faster than it used to be. If I open up the Task Manager and go to Performance, you'll notice it's using 100% of the processing power. Now this is only a quad-core processor, so you're only seeing 4 CPUs there, but it is using 100% of all of them. It didn't used to do that. When I wasn't using QuickSync, and I was just using the standard encoder, EDIUS would actually use about 30 or 40% processing power. I mean, it varies, depends on how many cores you have in your system. This system here, okay, it's a quad-core processor. Let's have a look on a Xeon system. It's got a lot more cores in this one. And here I'm encoding exactly the same stuff out of EDIUS 8.32, and you'll notice it actually is not using a huge amount of the cores all the time. You'll also notice the time it's taking is quite considerably longer than it was going to be on the other system. You know, the other system said it was going to take about 3 minutes. On this system with lots of cores in it, you can actually see it's going to take about 25 minutes using 8.32. So now let's switch to exactly the same Xeon system, but instead of using EDIUS 8.32, I'm using EDIUS 8.5. You'll notice suddenly it's using a lot more of the processing power, and it's going an awful lot faster. Apart from that though, it is actually doing better quality. Now I'm going to try and show you the difference in quality on the video, but you probably won't see it. I can see it here, but once this has gone up onto YouTube and YouTube has mangled it, there will probably be other rubbish which has been introduced which has actually destroyed any chance of seeing it. Try it for yourself. This is a particular shot which I've done a few times. There's basically a lot of green in it, which is always the hardest thing to encode, and it generally ends up with little artifacts and squares all over the place. Remember, I did this at 5 megabits. This is full 1920 1080 video, and I've done it at 5 megabits a second. That's not what I would normally do. Normally I would say, no, you got to do this at least 10, 11 or 12. Amazingly, it looks very, very good. The one that we've got on the right here, That's the one done in 8.5. The one that I've got on the left, that's the one that was done in EDIUS 8.3. And the quality is basically quite a lot better. Maybe you can't see it at your end. I can definitely see it at my end. Really nice thing they've done in 8.5. You know, it's not something where I can say some new whiz-bangy feature, or yes, it does 300 other things that it didn't used to do before. But actually, when it comes down to it, what we really wanted is a faster way of doing Blu-ray discs, a faster way of doing MP4 files, and better quality. And they've put it in there. It's a really nice addition, worth having 8.5 really just for that.